1 million computer systems in the United States. Inside every one of them is a startling new world. When Kevin Flynn, a computer genius, unlocks the dimension beneath the screen, he becomes a prisoner in a world of his own making. The world of Tron. A dimension you have never seen, a name you have never heard, a vision you could never imagine. A world of heroes and villains, where energy lives and breathes. Inside a computer, the new world, Tron.
Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Sur and the Kodan Armada. Get ready. Prepare for blast off.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Well, we're going, we don't need roads.
Remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
This is 80's Reboot Overdrive Podcast.
We were dancing just like Swayze when Jennifer Grey had a nose. Oh, how I miss the 80s, but I'm too young to really know. Too young to know.
Oh my god. That is like so dated.
Alright, so our next pick goes to Scott.
Okay. So this one is definitely more mainstream, especially for probably more of the male audience, but it would be Tron.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Huge movie, spun off a couple video games, which was just right in my wheelhouse at the time. 1982, 14 years old. Tron was the coolest thing to ever come out. Loved the special effects were cool. Everything was cool about it. You're inside a computer. You're not just in front of a computer. You're in the computer. So it was just really it was just a lot of fun. They had a lot of cool, interesting, things that came from it. The toys, the video games, and one of my favorite video games of all time, which I mentioned before, was this one called Tron Discs, and it took Frisbee to a whole new level. Just a lot of fun. And then the light motorcycles that were running around, it's just really just a blast, sci-fi, great movie. So, and Jeff Bridges, gotta love Jeff Bridges. He's always an actor. So. That'd be my next choice there.
All right, so Rose, you sound like you were really into that.
No, it's just it to me it was cutting edge for Disney. They'd taken fantasy, to a whole new level. Something futuristic is what we needed. We needed to see that unusual the aspect of in a theater and we needed to see futuristic and we needed to see what it would look like, really. And, you know, besides the flying cars and all that other nonsense that everybody seems to think we should have. I think Tron, I was actually kind of disappointed when they decided to revisit that. I don't say I want to say I've seen it so many times that, you know, I'm like, you know, the master of Tron, but I've seen it enough times to know that they really didn't need to do it a second time. It was just one of those movies that left you with enough information to make your own decisions. And the fact that they went back, you know, everybody's like, oh, Hale, you look what they did to Jeff Bridges and all this stuff. And it's just like, why? You know, sometimes things just need to be, you know, left alone. And kudos to Disney for figuring that out. You know, I don't know if that was their decision to do it again, but it, I enjoyed it to the point to where, you know, you got to use your imagination. You got to think about, okay, you know, what are these computer things that everybody's talking about, you know, and these video games? Because when you're an adult, you know your kids are into things, but you don't really give them a whole lot of thought as far as, you know, what it takes to put all these things together and, you know, what's the technical aspect behind it. And then you think, okay, well, if it's too complicated, then you just leave that to the youngsters and I'll just go about doing my business. But with Tron, it was just like, no, I want to see, you know, how did he get in there? What's he doing? You know, is he going to get back? It's like, you know, you're just really drawn into the story and it's very mesmerizing. And I think they did that, you know, with all of the special effects. I mean, that was the amazing special effects, really just kind of, you know, had your eyes wide open and you're just like, wow, that is so cool. How did they do that?
It really was like the first attempt at showing virtual reality.
Yeah, it was.
You know?
Good way to explain it, Scott.
It really was like the beginning of the whole virtual reality mindset that, you know, you could have this whole world inside of computers now.
Yeah.
So it was very good timing, early 1980s, you know, right when the computer era was going on, and it's just one of my favorites. I might have to bust that one out again and rewatch it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Lisa, you said you liked movies that were kind of upbeat. This may not have hit your radar, did it?
Absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say this. I'm not a very popular person, so I've actually been avoiding watching that movie.
Really?
It's on one of my lists. Avoiding.
Okay.
Because I've heard a lot of positive, but a whole lot of negative on it as well. And so I can't watch it and actually just have my own opinion about it because I've heard about it too much without seeing it. So I kind of feel like I wouldn't get like what a fresh viewer would have saw when they first watched it. I have just way too much already input about it. So I actually am not trying to watch it for that reason.
I get it. I was like, when I saw Top Gun, everybody like said it was like the best movie ever made. Like a lot of people in high school, because it came out when I was in 86 and I was, you know, a senior in high school, and everybody built it up to such this degree that it was like, you know, it was going to revolutionize the world as we know it. It was that big of a deal. And I went and I saw it and I'm like, yeah, it was cool, but I don't know. I felt kind of disappointed. So I totally get it why you would be avoiding it. I'm sure there are a couple movies out there that I've heard way too much about that would put me on that pathway also.
Any mainstream popular movie you can think of, any of the Twilight, Harry Potters, whatever the case is, I just avoid them because people hype them up so much, and it's just like, I don't even want to go there.
Totally understand.
But, you know, to now fall into the realm of being positive about the movie, you know, I think it's an awesome pick. I was with you, Scott, where, you had the video game element and you had the person sucked into the computer. And, as we've said before, where we talked about things like war games, that was influential to our future careers. This was that technology, and this was like sucked into the inside of the computer, and you had a fantasy element to those computer beings, ROM and RAM and all those things, and
Yeah.
and you were like, this is awesome, and back then I had my Apple IIe and I was geeking out about all that stuff, and I don't remember, if the years aligned with when Tron came out, but, I was definitely into going to arcades, and I had that growing interest in the technology, and Tron was just like that gateway drug into being, the technology, and it was like, yes, sign me up. So, so yeah, I'm with you. This is an awesome pick. So thank you, Scott.
Sure.
So we are on Rose. Rose, what is your second pick?
Well, it was actually kind of like what do you call it? The honorable mention, but I have to use it since somebody stole mine. But
just out of curiosity, who stole yours?
I believe it was you. No, I'm kidding.
All right, fair
enough. You. No,
that's the way I roll.
Lisa
It
stole
was
mine.
your spawn.
No. Yeah.
That Dave, he's such a jerk. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, right. So, years and years and years and years and years and years ago, there was this, I don't even think it was like a movie, it was like a TV movie. I can't remember how it managed to make its way into, I'm sure I probably saw it on TV. It was one of those, maybe it was like a Wonderful World of Disney type things. And, it was an adventure movie. And I always like it when the lead character of an adventure movie is a female, because girls aren't, still in the 80s, still aren't supposed to know how to do anything. And here's this little girl, and she runs away from her guardian so she can go find her dad. And the movie is called The Journey of Natty Gann, and it stars Meredith Salinger and John Cusack. And this beautiful, beautiful wolf dog that was just, I wanted one of those so bad. But so she's, it was during, I want to say it was during the Depression. It was like an era type film. And she wanted to be with her dad, and he was like 3,000 miles away. So he had to leave to go find work so he can supply, her needs while she was staying, with her guardian. And so she just takes off one day, and she's wandering around, heading towards where she thinks he is, and she meets up with John Cusack, and he's kind of like the epitome of a hobo, but he's wily, and he's smart and street smart, and he knows how to get things and do things. And I wanted to be able to revisit it because it's been so many years since I'd seen it. But I remember, I don't know if Lisa remembers or not, we used to watch it quite a bit. And her older brother, I think, probably watched it more so because, he was older and he wanted to see, the adventure type things. He wasn't always into cartoons. But it was a really good film. It was a good family film. And a lot of really good, Ray Weiss plays her dad. And there's a lot of Scatman Crothers is in it. A lot of good people. Got a good cast in it. And it was just, I don't want to say it was predictable, but it kind of was. But then that's okay. Sometimes predictable is good. Because if you leave too much to be desired, so to speak, it leaves people confused. So I really enjoyed it. So that was my second pick.
I have absolutely nothing on the journey of Natty Gann. Absolutely nothing. I'm sorry to go there, but yeah, I have not touched this movie at all.
I've never even heard of it.
Obscure.
Dude,
Done.
I thought I was going to win the Obscure Award tonight, but I guess not.
No, you went Tron, so there's no way that you would have won Obscure. So
no. My first pick was.
Yeah.
I thought my first pick, The Last Flight of Noah's Ark, would have been the winner.
Yeah.
No, well, it still could be.
No, you got me on this one. I've never even heard of it.
So Scott and I are out. Lisa, what do you got on Journey of Natty Gann?
She said my least favorite actor's name, which is John Cusack. Anything and everything that man has been in, unfortunately, due to my mother's obsession, I have blocked out. So, the last movie I watched him in that I loved was Hot Tub Time Machine, and that was about it. So,
wow.
Yeah, sorry.
Wow. You wait until the national podcast is airing.
You gotta just take that. I had to. I can't stand it.
Like I'm on an episode of Maury right now. Jesus.
You're dissing the John Cusack. I don't know what to do now.
Maybe if my mom didn't make me watch Grosse Point Blank over 50 times, I would probably still be a fan. Okay? But because she played every movie that man has ever been in, at least double digits, I'm going to go ahead and say I've had enough for a lifetime.
Wow.
Well.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm afraid to ask, but I have to now. High Fidelity. Please tell me you love that movie.
Do what now? Who, huh?
High Fidelity.
What?
You've seen that movie, right?
No.
Oh, God, that hurts.
I know.
It hurts on so many levels.
I know.
Well,
it's okay.
So I guess you're out on the Icon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's not my fault. Blame the 80s chick, okay? She's the one who killed it for me, okay?
80s music girl is to blame, hey?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, she's right, because it was, if it wasn't Better Off Dead, it was One Crazy Summer. If it was Say Anything, it was anything he was in the 80s. 16 Candles. Yeah. We've seen it.
So if there was so if there's any like 80s, I don't know, movie actor that I'm pushing on my kids, are you saying I'm kind of stopping them from loving them in the future?
I don't know. They could all have a different reaction. It just depends.
That's scary. Wow.
Well,
okay.
Lisa's very strong-willed. If she doesn't like something, she doesn't like it regardless.
Kind of reminds
me
of
if everybody's eating ice cream and she wants pudding,
good point, Scott.
she's going to go with the pudding.
What was that? I said kind of reminds me of her mother.
Yeah.
Which is what we love about you, Rose.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I know I'm a PIA, but you love me for it.
This is true.
Yeah, see, there you go. So, yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
So who's next?
So I'm next up, but my third pick is going to be dependent on, does anyone have Elizabeth Shue as their third pick?
No.
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 I've got to go. Okay. All right. Well, then I was going to go Dragon Slayer. I can't do that now because I've got to go Adventures in Babysitting to make sure that we've talked about it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dragon Slayer was, and I just want to bring this up, was last night I was looking through on-demand movies to see, 80s Walt Disney movies that might be a little more obscure. That way I had a backup. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up watching this movie called Dragon Slayer, which, being a kid that was into Dungeons and Dragons, that might have been something that would have been a little more accepting, but watching it in 2017 wasn't a great movie. But I'm not going to go there now because I want to make sure Adventures in Babysitting is covered. Adventures in Babysitting, Elizabeth Shue, she gets sucked into this thing where she's having to take care of this group of kids, and it's in Chicago. And it's just a very fun movie, and you have the little girl who has the love affair with Thor, and then you have this guy that later on in the movie looks just like Thor, and it's just a fun movie. And the thing that sticks out, my favorite scene of the whole movie, besides the annoying friend that was like, you know what, this is, she looks just like this person in Playboy, but you also had the moment where they've got to sing the blues, and it was just such a funny moment. So, for me, Adventures in Babysitting, Elizabeth Shue, being that she was such the wonderful 80s icon that she was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch her in things in her progression through the 1980s and being either the Karate Kid, and then getting to Adventures in Babysitting, and when she was kind of the predominant lead of the movie and not just kind of like a side character. I think she did such a wonderful job. So I want to give her due credit. That's my pick, Adventures in Babysitting.
Nice.
Yeah. Lisa, did you watch that one?
Yes, I've seen that. It was a movie.
It was a movie. Not a good movie, but it was a movie. You are going to be just our thumbs down critique is what you're going to be.
She should have warned you. I'm quite the negator on some of these. Only because
look at me.
I mean, it's a good movie. I watched it recently with my kids. They seem to like it. I don't know. I guess I'm just the whole, we're being babysat and crazy things are going to happen. It's just like, yeah, okay, I can do that too. It's not a far stretch for me, I guess. I mean, having the whole Thor thing in there, having the mystical character, I guess that's out of realm. But I mean, it just kind of seemed like every other babysitting movie I've seen, something crazy happens. Oh no, we're in trouble. And love at the end. And the parents don't find out, or they do find out and they don't care. So it's like, meh.
Wow. I just didn't see anybody being negative about this movie, but okay, that's cool. What I just found out though was my kids like to watch the Disney Channel now, and there's a remake of it. So I was like, really? Didn't we really get enough of that as the first time around? But
really not.
Yeah, I guess not. But as we've seen, a lot of the industry is kind of devoid of fresh ideas. So I get the fact that somebody's revisiting things from the 80s and going, let's regurgitate this, and just put our spin on it. So I get it. Yeah. All right, so Scott, Adventures in Babysitting, what's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean it was a good movie back. I haven't seen it in a while, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I always loved Elizabeth Shue and a lot of the things she did, and the Thor thing was kind of fun with the kid being a big fan of Thor, especially since she was a little girl. It wasn't the normal hero that little girls would probably have. So I don't know. It's good pick. One of the movies I do remember watching a couple times back in the day. Mostly because of Elizabeth Shue, because I just had a crush on her. So,
well, who didn't?
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, Lisa.
Well, yeah. Well, she had her eyes on John Cusack, so.
Ooh.
I'm opposed to that. I do love Joan Cusack, so if that helps any at all.
Oh, Joan.
Joan, his sister.
His sister.
Joan.
Oh, I know
Joan.
Joan.
I love Joan too. Yeah, there's a lot of kids in that family. There's Anne, there's Joan, there's William, there's John, there's Jeez. A lot of Cusack.
So this is a little bit before your time, Lisa, but did you ever see a movie called My Bodyguard?
No.
That's Joan Cusack in kind of the earliest versions that you're ever going to see her. So if you ever get a chance, you should go check that out.
Well, you gotta think, the first movie I saw her in was The Addams Family. So, I mean, it had to be around that era and above, so.
Oh, yeah, Addams Family Values or something.
Yeah, just Psycho Crazy. And I loved it.
Yeah, she was fun in
She's
that
good
movie.
at that.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Also in 16 Candles.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She had the
Oh, yeah.
headset.
Yeah.
The radar headset. Braces.
The headgear.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy. I've got somewhere to put my hands. All right, so Rose, you talked about Adventures of Babysitting already, right?
Okay, so I saw the movie once.
Okay.
I never revisited it since. As an adult, you during the 80s as an adult, and I'm just saying, I'm throwing this out there for people who had the advantage to go to, it's not like Redbox or anything, but it's, a big store that has nothing but videos in it. And you've got kids that are going, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see this. And you're trying to find something that everybody will enjoy. And I remember where, everybody's hanging on to everybody else that's on the cover. I'm just like, oh my goodness. We'll get this. And Adventures in Babysitting, this looks interesting. And I remember popping it in to the video, the VCR, and just nothing. Nobody was into it. No one, every so often somebody go, oh, look at what they're doing. Kind of a thing. So it didn't really grab the kids' attention. So it never came back. If it didn't grab their attention, speaking as a mom of 3 young children, it wasn't going to revisit my household. So I think it was just a little too much. It was definitely a lot going on for me, because we all know how I feel about movies when there's like a crap ton of things going on at one time. It's just like, it's too chaotic. I'm not going to have to deal with this. So it went back to the video store, and honestly, if my kids saw it, they saw it on their own, or over to a friend's house, or when they were an adult. So I'm sorry. I mean, I love Elizabeth Shue. She's great. She's almost like the quintessential girl next door, but she had her moments, and she was a really good actress. It just didn't do anything for me. Sorry.
I so saw it. In my mind, I had a lot more people appreciating Adventures in Babysitting than.
And I'm sure they're out there.
I guess
not here,
but not on this podcast, obviously.
No, they're not on this podcast. No, you got Scott. Scott,
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't,
It wasn't on your
highlight.
list of top 3. I gotcha.
No.
Right. Oh, that hurts on so many levels. All right. I don't know. What am I doing here?
I don't know, Dave. You're the overlord. That's what you're doing.
All right. Fine. Good enough. All right. So, Lisa, your pick.
Okay. So, for my last pick, I don't know if it was mainstream because I was really young when it came out. The only reason I even watched the movie, because it's not even anything that I would normally watch, is because it was a homage to another movie, or it was from another movie. So, Return to Oz. One of my favorite movies ever. It was so dark. I loved it. Everything about it. It wasn't anything like Wizard of Oz. It was more geared towards, the books, which is great. You always like it when they say that way. But the girl who played it, and I can't pronounce her name for crap, but she is just the freakiest little girl I'd ever seen in my life. She went on to, make The Craft or whatever, being a witch. That was like her thing in Hollywood. She was that creepy chick. But I mean, I just loved her in the movie. It was just so empty, and there was nothing reminiscent of the first one. It was completely its own. It wasn't a remake. like I said, it was more of an homage to, or a second part of, when Dorothy returns back to Oz and everything's broken and destroyed and she doesn't know what's going on and she has to, gather her friends that she's, has had before and try and, rebuild back whatever. I mean, but the adventures in it, the scenes are great. Some of the props they used in it, were really antique, and it was really eye appealing to what they were trying to portray, which is this perfect wonderland is now destroyed, and now she has to go and get it back to whatever. It was just, I really, really enjoyed it, even though it's not a typical one I would normally watch. But I mean, it really made me appreciate the books so much more after watching that one, and it was just totally different from the original, and I really enjoyed it.
So you were talking about Fairuza Balk.
Yes. Yeah. Her. I love her. She's freaking awesome. Her eyes just are like killer. They just stare into your soul, and you're like, oh man.
They are a glowing blue. That's hard to, you don't see that very often.
No, and that just kind of added to the creepy-esque feel of the movie that they were going for. Her presence made it a lot more for me because she fit into her atmosphere. Yeah. So
I like her in The Water Boy.
I like her in Almost Famous.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great. She is absolutely fantastic.
Sure.
Return to Oz. I know I've seen it, and I just remember it being so different than what I was, because, I grew up watching, Wizard of Oz, and that came on every year, and
my mom records it for me.
and so I would watch that, and get freaked out about, when I was a kid, I was scared of the witch, and the flying monkeys were just, oh my god, they were so scary. And then, the Return to Oz, I don't know, it was just so different, and I don't think that I gravitated towards it because I was so used to that other version, that came before it. But I know I've seen it, and it was just kind of one of those things because I was so used to that other thing, that other entity of Wizard of Oz, that my mind wasn't ready to accept the differences that Return to Oz was trying to give to me. So that's why it didn't do much for me, but I know I've saw it, and, you're right. I mean, the actress that played Dorothy, obviously, Fairuza Balk, she's awesome. She's awesome in anything she does.
Exactly.
So,
it was a role for her. It fit her very well. And like I said, when you go to watch the movie, you're thinking you're getting the original, and you don't. So, I mean, it's totally nothing what you expect. But then when you get into it, you get into it. So it was good for me.
All right, cool. All right, so Return to Oz, Scott, was that something on your radar?
I got nothing on it.
Nothing.
I remember it coming out, but I never saw it.
Okay, Rose.
Yeah, that was that movie, like my daughter said, was very. It was beyond anything. It took her out of her element, but it did have a dark, kind of a sinister feel to it, and I thought, okay, there were times when I tried to prevent her from watching it because I thought, it was just a little too mature for her, but it was captivating at the same time. So there may have been a couple of times when I watched it with her and I thought, okay, yeah, this is definitely different. But then if you've ever read the series, that L. Frank Baum wrote, they're very dark. Of the whole series from the very beginning, and I believe there's 6 or 7. I can't remember how many books are in the series. But yeah, it's just that's like she said, they took it from that point of view. And it's the young lady that was in it. It was like a perfect role for her because she had the look, and the dialogue that she had that they gave her was very, I don't know, it was very eerie, to see someone so young play someone so dark. And it was, I thought later on, it was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it was kind of like a fluke thing. But then, of course, you see now when they ended up doing remakes of, like Powerful, Oz the Great and Powerful, and things like that with James Franco and that young lady, I can never remember her name. They had that same feel to it, so it was almost as if something that they wanted to portray all along, and maybe they didn't get a very good feedback for it. So it's definitely something. Nowadays, it would probably be kind of like a kind of thing, because we've pretty much seen everything that they've thrown at us. But as far as Hollywood's concerned, so it would be something interesting to get a person from this generation, that was born now, and go, hey, watch this movie. Tell them what you think. I'd be interested to see the reaction.
I was still stuck in one of the words that you used earlier. Read? What is that? Read? Read. Read. Huh. I feel like that was something I should know. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so Scott, you're up next.
Okay, last pick then. So I'm kind of torn. I thought this one would have been picked by now, but I'm gonna go with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Rick Moranis.
Good job.
Just always a fun movie to watch. The adventure, it's fantasy. It's sci-fi. It's Rick Moranis being funny as he always is. So yeah, it's just a fun concept, fun movie, and the follow-ups to it were not quite as entertaining, but they were still fun too. But yeah, with Rick Moranis, how he made that contraption in the backyard with with the counterweight, and he's got the magnifying glass out looking for his kids in the grass. And then of course you have what is that actor's name? I'm sorry, it's Max Headroom.
Oh yeah.
It's Robert something, isn't it?
I saw him in an episode of Star Trek not too long ago.
Yeah, Matt Frewer. It's a hard last name to say. Just fun, good family fun.
It was.
Yeah, I think we definitely talked a bit about that one when we were talking about the Rick Moranis 80's icon. Yeah, definitely a fun movie. And if I remember right, Rose, didn't you say that made you cry at the end?
Did I?
I don't remember. Maybe I'm remembering a different movie.
Well, it probably did, because, this is like every parent's nightmare.
Shrinking
your
kids
are
are
missing.
Of course.
Yeah, you don't know where they're at. You and your husband are having problems, and it was going to be, Quitsville for the two of you, and then here's the kids. They're getting into stuff, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're gone, and you're freaking out, and I can never remember her name. I know, I don't want to call her Mr. Cotter's wife, but she had a really, really good role in that, and it was it did, it did make me cry, because it was just like, oh, she found her kids. That's awesome.
Marcia Strassman?
Yes, Marcia Strassman. Bless her heart. Yeah.
I
so
just
it was,
remember something about the ant scene. and that's
the ant. Oh, Auntie. Oh, good Lord, yes.
Yeah, the ant died.
Too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Yeah.
And you were like yelling at us, like, you can't tell me that you didn't cry during that scene.
Yeah, there's quite a few movies where, I know, and I probably said it too in that segment, but there's like one movie that our whole entire family just absolutely refuses to watch because of the scene at the end. And it's Homeward Bound.
Oh,
Won't watch it. Haven't seen it since the 90s. Nope. Can't revisit it. It's too hard. It's just too gut-wrenching. It's just too hard. So, yeah.
It's the animal thing, isn't it?
It is. It totally
is. It's funny. We've been watching Madam Secretary. Sorry, little side note here. We've been watching Madam Secretary on Netflix. And, there's people dying in this thing all the time. There's terrorists killing people, blowing up people. But I'm like choking up when they had to put their horse to sleep. Like, seriously. Like, I feel no emotion with all these people dying, and that the horse has to get put down, and I'm like, oh, come on, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it. Animals have a special place in our hearts.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, it's like when we talk about Never-Ending Story. It's like everybody remembers Ortax dying, the horse.
Yeah.
You're like, it's like, that's the scene that sticks out of that whole movie. It's like, oh my God, the horse died. I don't want to watch that scene. Let's fast forward past that scene. So,
yeah.
So Lisa, were you subjected to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and did you cry at the end?
I don't recall crying. I did get emotional when the ant died. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously it was the cutest little thing ever. I actually really liked the movie. It was obviously hilarious, funny. Rick Moranis, obviously a comedy gem, as I like to refer to him. But it was really adventurous for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see so much for a sci-fi part of it, but that probably because of I was younger when I was watching it. But I've watched it with my kids. They've watched all of the movies. They just like all of them. And to them, it was like a whole nother concept. They're like goofy scientist guy and it loses his kids, and trying to find them. It was funny and just homey the whole way around. It was a good movie. I liked it.
Very cool. So Rose, I think we have you left for your third pick.
Okay. Alrighty. So, I don't think I went too obscure, but I always have to go with things that, if anyone knows me, which I like to think you all do, one of the things in the 80s that brings it all home for me are
Say
my
Popeye.
kids.
Say Popeye. Say Popeye.
No. I'm not going to say Popeye. Are my children. And watching their favorite shows with them and introducing them to new favorite shows and movies. It's pretty much, the realm. My existence, was trying to keep them entertained while they were younger. And one of the things that we always liked to do was, celebrate Christmas, of course. What kid doesn't like Christmas? But mom doesn't like making her kids happy during Christmas. There's a lot more that goes to it than that, I think. Sometimes I think you have to set an atmosphere and a tradition. Because one of the things I instilled into my kids is like you always have traditions. That way every year you get to do fun things with your family. And one of the fun things that we did as a family was watch our Christmas shows, our favorite Christmas shows. Now, we recently did one where I told you, the story of my top 3 favorite Christmas shows from the 80s. And I'm not sure if I included this in it or not, but it's not even on the radar as far as IMDb. It's not even in IMDb for some reason because it's considered a featurette. It was included in a bunch of different Christmas stories that Disney put out when Disney Channel was worth watching. And you had to pay for it to get it on cable. And I love Charles Dickens. I love A Christmas Story and Mickey's Christmas Carol. I mean, the Christmas Carol that Charles Dickens did. But Mickey's Christmas Carol to me was like, wow, okay, this is a different version of something that I love. And it's Scrooge McDuck is Ebenezer Scrooge, but it's McDuck. I mean, he's from, what is it he's from? Not, help me out, Lisa.
What?
DuckTales?
To show that he was a DuckTales, thank you. Yeah, so it's him, and he plays Scrooge McDuck, and then it's Mickey is Bob Cratchit, and then Minnie, of course, is Mrs. Cratchit, and then Tiny Tim is the little mice, and it was very well done. They did a really good job, and then they came out with the book and cassette version of that, and the book and cassette version had the music because you couldn't cram all that, I guess, into 30 minutes for some reason. I don't know how they felt they couldn't do that. And so we learned all the songs, because we're always on the road. We were coming home or going to babysitting or whatever. So here we are learning all of these new songs, Christmas, Oh, What a Merry Christmas Day, and The Only Thing I Care About Is Money. He's singing this song. And then, of course, later on, you get to the sad stuff when he regrets not having, wed his fiancée and putting her out because she was 5 seconds late on a mortgage, and he evicted her or something like that. But it was a different twist, an old favorite, and it's always been a favorite of mine. And I don't know if Lisa can tell you how many times we've seen it, but kind of like our Wizard of Oz. It's just something that we watch every year. And what 80s movie reminiscence would be without Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy and everybody.
All right, so Lisa, you're in the green room. You're not. Your mother can't hear you now. Do you like Mickey's Christmas Carol?
Of course. I'm not a monster.
Nice. All right.
Oh my God. Obviously Scrooge was my favorite character. Obviously. But I loved it because it told an old story that's been told for generations, and it put Disney and all my favorite characters in it. Why wouldn't I? I mean, you got the chipmunks going around playing about, and you got, little Tiny Tim with his little mousy ears and the little scarf and the hat. I mean, you gotta love it. It's classic Disney, everything, and for it to be Christmas, it's even better, because, I mean, who doesn't love Christmas and who doesn't love Disney?
Yeah, I've had my thing with Disney where, growing up in Florida, I what I didn't mention at the beginning of the podcast is that, I didn't live too far from, Mickey's main, abode being, the Magic Kingdom, and so, me and Mickey, we've had some times together, I've had the hat, I've had, my name on the back, and, so Mickey and I, we're tight, we're good, we're buds. Even so much so in 1989, graduating high school, went to Grad Night 1989 at Walt Disney World and saw New Kids on the Block. Whole different story. Anyway, so, me and Mickey were close. So, I love this pick, and I think, just mixing the story elements of A Christmas Carol into a Mickey universe. It was just fantastically done. And so I don't know, however, what better way to put it, but they just did it right.
Yeah.
Scott, what about you?
Not on my radar at all.
Be that way.
I know.
Now you're the martyr. How does it feel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's still a chance to watch it, Scott. There's still a chance.
There's chances.
I've got other things on my list, though, that are going to take such priority.
Okay. You're going to be like that, are we?
What were we talking about the other day?
What were we talking about the other day?
With Phoebe Cates.
Oh.
What were we talking about with Phoebe Cates?
One of the movies you recommended with Phoebe Cates that I've never seen.
Oh.
Or something.
What? Was it I Love You to Death?
No, I saw that one. There was another one. Maybe it wasn't Phoebe Cates. Anyway, so I have like so much homework between you guys and the mixtape auto reverse show. They gave me a bunch more homework the other day. As far as albums to listen to, and we only did part 1, so gotta do another one.
Yeah,
cool.
and Lisa, what you may not know about Scott is that he will write notes to himself about things that he's got to do, and he's the only organized one out of the three of us. As far as keeping notes and keeping organized, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that. So good on you, Scott. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely, we commend you for that.
If it only worked.
Sometimes it works.
See, I need to make notes to myself at where I left my notes.
I definitely relate to that. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm always misplacing things. Like my favorite watch. My wife gave me this watch for a 10-year anniversary. We've been married 20, going on 23 years soon here.
Wow.
And just in the last week or so, it's just my watch is missing, and I'm ripping the house apart trying to find this stupid thing. It's just driving me nuts. So, I misplace things all the time, but this one kind of is frustrating me.
You'll find it.
I hope so.
Last place you'll ever look.
Oh, yeah. Great.
It always is. It always is.
All right.
Oh, look, it's in my coffin.
Oh,
oh my God.
Hey, it's the last place. Well, no, you won't even see that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Ha ha.
All right, so we are so long into this podcast.
Yeah.
Rose, I know you did some reach out to Twitter. Do you have any Twitter shout-outs?
I do, and I hope it, because my iPad went off and my cat's trying to get my attention so I can feed him. And now I gotta get my iPad going. I know Tristan Laughing.
Tristan
gave us Tristan Laughing at Tristan Laughing. Fox and the Hound, the Black Cauldron, Great Detective, and Oliver and Company. Now, did you want to do the ones where it's both of us, or did you want me to do those, or?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Because the only one I have in front of me is the one that just responded to the one I tweeted out, and that was Jason Von Count at J.R. Wells 82, which is the Great Mouse Detective. But go ahead.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's in my what do you call it? That's in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Mike Mixtape. Oliver and Company. Yeah, that's the Jason Von Count. There was another one, I believe. I'm trying to remember who he is, because he mentioned Tron. Ron Boket, Fox and a Hound. That was his 80s fave. And then there was one more, but I can't remember his name now. I think it was if you want to go with one, and then I'll try and find it. Did you have anything, Scott? Did anybody?
Oh, I didn't get any tweets, but I do have a couple honorable mentions real quick before we wrap it up. Like Dave was trying to say earlier, Popeye.
Yeah.
And then there was another one with Elliot Gould, The Devil and Max Devlin, which was also with
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby. Mm-hmm. I wanted to say David Crosby was going through my head.
That would have been interesting.
And then, of course, a really, really cheesy movie called Condor Man.
Oh.
Anyway, those are my honorable mentions. Ones that I remember seeing. I mean, there's a few actually. You know, Night Crossing was another interesting one from back then. Man, if we were to dip back in the 70s though for Disney, oh my goodness, I could go on and on with all of those.
Totally.
I
found my other one.
Pete's Dragon.
Yeah, Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon is like the top of my list for sure.
Yes.
Yep. Then, that's another podcast for the 70s.
RC Lopez at Shootout28 says my favorite movie was Tron. To me, that was when the year of the geek began.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Good call.
Yeah. I said. Dave?
You know,
that was it?
Yeah, that was it for Twitter shoutouts. The only honorable mention that hasn't been brought up yet for me was Splash.
Yeah.
That was Disney?
That was another one of those that, Wikipedia missed out on.
I didn't know that was Disney.
Yeah, when I Googled it.
Was Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, it brought up Splash as one of them.
Great movie.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was a movie. I love Tom Hanks.
Anything Tom Hanks does, yeah.
Yep. We'll be doing an icon on him soon, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. Hey, look, guys. I got to get going. It's 11 here.
Yeah, it is getting late. So, rather than doing our final thoughts, we'll just go right into social media credentials.
Okay.
All right, so Scott, what are your social media credentials?
You can find me at Scott's Eye or at 80's Auto Reverse on Twitter. And then on Facebook, you can find us at 80's Mixtape Auto Reverse.
Rose?
I'm at 80's Music Girl on Twitter, at 80's Music Girl on Facebook, and 80's Music Girl on Instagram.
Now, Lisa, I know that we don't want to exclude you, but you had mentioned before that you were not really too big into social media.
I am a co-page person for my 80's Music Girl for Facebook. So.
Oh, sweet.
That's my credential.
Yeah, she's one of my administrators. Okay. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you, they can find you through there.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. All right, and I am Dave. I take care of our 80s Reboot accounts, and that is Twitter at 80s Reboot. Tumblr is 80sreboot.tumblr.com. We have a blog, which is southgatemediagroup.com/80s Reboot blog. If you want to email us, that's 80sreboot@gmail.com. Last thing we want you to do is go out and give us a rating review on iTunes. Normally I go to Rose and she'll give you many shamings to tell you to go do this, but in the interest of time, go do this. Otherwise we're going to be shaming you and making you watch the Forbidden Zone.
Condor Man.
The Forbidden Zone.
Yeah. Condor Man.
And Condor Man, back to back.
Back to back, if you don't give us a rating and review. So we appreciate you reliving the 80s with us, and you have a good whatever.
Bye,
Take care, everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.
All right, we definitely did go long, but had a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah, no, that was a good talk.
Great.
A lot of good stuff in
there. I might have to split that up into two.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, because I'm looking at the time of the call, we're at 2 hours now.
Yeah.
It probably will be broken up into two.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So, all right, I got to get going.
And
All right,
Lisa,
Scott, take care.
Lisa,
Lisa, it was nice meeting you.
Oh, it was nice being on there. It was so much fun.
Yeah, we definitely need to revisit some topics with you. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it'd be my pleasure to destroy everything that you guys have built up. That's
Wow.
what I do.
You sound nothing like Rose at all.
Nothing at all.
Go to bed, Scott.
Night.
I so
See you
love
guys.
I love the unpopular opinion, so I'm totally on board.
Yeah, always been unpopular. Number one.
So that's very cool.
All right.
Scott already dropped, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Man,
He had to go.
Mr. Quick.
Well, it's 11 o'clock there.
Yeah, 10 o'clock my time, so I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun.
This was
great. I liked it.
It's always nice to get. I always wanted to try and, because we've done it before with the guys. I always like to get the younger demographic version of what they thought. Because sometimes it manages to lose its. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but as the generations go by and you age, you have a different feel on different things that you've seen, and it's always good.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've noticed that all your guys' picks was more early 80s and mine were in the latter. I didn't feel comfortable actually reviewing anything before then because I wasn't even thought of. So it was kind of like not cool for me. But I mean, from a younger generation standpoint, I mean, it'd be great to know. Now I'm going to go look at those movies and be like, okay, well, I'm going to watch these because I've never even heard of them before. You know what I mean? So it was good as far as that goes.
Yeah.
It kind of made me feel like mine were like super young. I was like,
no, but it's great though. That's what we like. We like that mix. It's just everybody picked the mainstream stuff, and he's like, "Where's the fun in that, and where's the objectiveness of that?"
Yeah, it's the keeping the different perspective going.
Mm-hmm.
And with all of us being different ages, I mean, the three of us, we have different ages, and it's much different perspectives as far as what was on our radar and what was popular in our own brain. And you bring a whole different element to that, and that's why when we first originally started messaging with each other, I was like, I want to dig deep into what was a girl's appeal to Gem and the Holograms, because I want to know.
Oh my God, go on and on and on. And I was even telling Mom that I was like, to get my perspective of something, experiencing it firsthand as a child, I still remember everything that I felt about it. I was watching it on Netflix not too long ago, and I'm still singing to the song, and I'm still happy to watch it. It's good. Yeah. It's good and fun. There are actually a little bit of negative standpoints I have for it because I have grown up as a woman. So now I kind of look back and was like, ew, that's kind of, no, I don't like that. But I mean, it was me, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact that it's glamour. I love glamour and glamour girly-ish. But I mean, now that I'm an adult, I don't think I would push that so much on my own daughter. But I mean, I liked it when I was younger, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's just, I mean, I'm coming at the perspective of being a dude, so I've got my perspective of things. So Gem and the Holograms didn't even hit my, watching radar. And, I mean, my sister was older, so she was, it wouldn't have been even, she wouldn't even thought about watching Gem and the Holograms. So because she wasn't watching it, I wasn't watching it. So when we first started messaging with each other, I was like, okay, I need to understand your perspective of, what it was that was about these kind of cartoons.
Yeah.
And so that was my take on what our conversation was going to be like. But then Rose threw out the Disney, and I was like, of course, let's do Disney. So
yeah.
So that
what,
took
what
us
kid doesn't know Disney, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Disney is definitely popular. With the people that listen to us. But at the same time, there's going to be other people that love the, I don't know if I want to say girly elements, but let's say the female perspective to the cartoons, because up until this date, we haven't had that perspective.
Yeah, right.
And that's what that's what I'd like to hear. So that's
why. All of them. I mean, you gotta think it's not just Gem and the Holograms. It was Rainbow Bright. It was Strawberry Shortcake. It was all of these massive female personas. But I mean, Gem was more reasonable because, I mean, it wasn't Gem without the Misfits. The Misfits was every little... We're not recording right now, are we? Can I cuss?
We're always recording.
Mitch. Every little Mitch you could see. By use instead of the B word. The Misfits were totally like the Mean Girls, and everybody knew the Mean Girls. And I mean, there was always somebody trying to... It's a female thing. It's always like, you have to be a girl to understand, you know what I mean? You got the cool girls who are fun and poppy, and then you had the Misfits who were down and dirty and trying to mess up the fun, but then, no, girl, this isn't going to happen. So, I mean, it's kind of like, it's exactly what girls are at that age, you know what I mean? So it's totally relatable. Totally.
Very cool. And that's definitely a topic we've got to revisit.
Definitely. For sure.
Yeah. All right,
need to
so...
get going. We got to put dinner on the table.
Yeah, it's late, so... So, thank you again, Lisa. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having her on.
Oh my God, it was a lot of fun.
It was,
glad.
totally.
Yep.
I hope you use her soundbite.
I'm sorry.
In a micro boot. That was awesome.
If Southgate was definitely, not so like...
I know.
Yeah. I would love to.
Yeah.
But I'll bleep it. So we're good.
Yeah. That's good.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, you guys have a good night. I'm gonna eat my dinner.
All right.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.